A huge one I forgot to mention is gluten, which is in every carb pretty much possible. And I know they make like gluten-free stuff, but that shit tastes weird to me. I can still eat chicken. That's good. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be kind of turning into a rabbit. So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna turn into a Victoria's Secret model. Call me Angel Reese.
Okay, so Sophie Cunningham just sparked the wildest controversy of the WNBA offseason. Seriously, the internet is calling her everything, from a cloud chaser to straight-up racist. It was just one comment, maybe 20 seconds long, and it caused a total meltdown across social media. But here's the thing everyone's screaming about: they're completely missing the bigger picture. By the end of this, you'll see why Sophie's comment shows something way deeper than just drama between two players. This isn't really about Victoria's Secret or Angel Reese, you know. It's about who actually gets to speak up in women's basketball and these unspoken rules that just got completely shattered. What's crazy is, the blonde bomber might have just dropped the most calculated 30 seconds of content you'll see all year. Was it a direct shot, or totally innocent? Hold that thought. Because first, we need to look at what A'ja Wilson said about Aaliyah Boston. That's got everyone wondering if one of the WNBA's biggest stars is maybe getting a little too comfortable with her protected status.
This is in the championship celebration for the Las Vegas Aces. We got A'ja Wilson with a whistle, and she said, "The only special whistle I know." Okay, A'ja, you gotta relax. You gotta relax, mama. Y'all barely beat a hospital team in the Indiana Fever. Like, come on, come on. Y'all did win a championship, and you did your thing. You balled out. But bro, you act like people are making this up when they talk about you getting a
the only special.
Okay, so that whole special whistle thing, yeah, that's A'ja Wilson. She's the reigning champion, an MVP frontrunner, just an absolute force on the court. But she's also mocking the very real criticism that she gets superstar calls. And get this, she's doing it while taking a shot at Aaliyah Boston, who literally couldn't buy a foul call in their playoff series. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's just some competitive banter between rivals, but you'd be wrong. This is the exact moment when the WNBA's credibility problem became impossible to ignore. A'ja just poured gasoline on a fire that's been burning since the finals, honestly. But wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's rewind to Sophie's comment for a second, because what she said about Angel Reese isn't just stirring the pot, it's showing just how fragile the piece really is in women's basketball right now. Most people heard her Victoria's Secret joke and immediately picked a side. What they didn't do is ask the most important question: why did Sophie feel comfortable saying this now?
A huge one I forgot to mention is gluten, which is in every carb pretty much possible. And I know they make like gluten-free stuff, but that shit tastes weird to me. I can still eat chicken. That's good. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be kind of turning into a rabbit. So I don't know. I guess I'm gonna turn into a Victoria's Secret model. Call me Angel Reese.
Listen to how this next person breaks it down, because they've caught on to something really crucial here. Angel Reese just walked the Victoria's Secret runway, right? That's a fact. And Sophie made a joke referencing it. Also a fact. But the reaction, man, that's where this whole thing gets super interesting. The comment section just turned into a war zone, and race got brought into it immediately. People are calling Sophie a cloud chaser, saying she only gets attention by dropping bigger names. And here's the part that should make you really lean in. This exact same pattern played out with Caitlin Clark all season long. You've probably noticed how any white player mentioning any black star instantly becomes a racial incident in the WNBA conversation. That's not an accident. That's an environment that's been carefully built over the past 2 years, where every single interaction gets analyzed through one lens and one lens only. Sophie knows this. She's been in the league long enough to totally understand what happens when you mention certain names. So, why did she do it?
The best thing that's happened recently is Sophie Cunningham getting into the media space. She gonna always give us something. Always, always. I love the fact that Sophie is doing podcasting and talking more. Let's take a look at what Sophie Cunningham was.
He said the best thing that's happened recently is Sophie Cunningham getting into the media space. And honestly, he's absolutely right. Here's why that matters more than you probably think. Sophie isn't just a player anymore, she's really building a media brand. She's 1/3 of Tres Leches. She's doing podcasts. She's creating a ton of content. And good content needs engagement, right? Well, controversy creates engagement. And you know what creates the most engagement in WNBA talk right now? Being involved with Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark. Look, this is totally calculated. Sophie's not dumb. She's watching players like Angel leverage their platform into huge mainstream opportunities. We're talking Victoria's Secret, magazine covers, brand deals that totally dwarf what most WNBA players will ever see. And Sophie just made sure everyone remembers she exists by attaching herself to that very conversation. So was it a shot? Was it admiration? Really, here's what it actually is. Strategic positioning. Sophie just inserted herself into the most talked about storyline in women's basketball, without saying anything technically offensive. That's masterclass media manipulation, plain and simple. But notice what happened next. The conversation immediately jumped to whether Sophie was being racist, or if she was jealous, or if white players are even allowed to joke about black players. Nobody bothered to ask the more interesting question, which is, why is Angel Reese walking fashion shows during the off-season, instead of working on the parts of her game that actually got exposed in the playoffs?
Okay, Angel Reese walking in the fashion show. Okay, she got her angel wings on. Okay, so this is what Sophie Cunningham is referring to. Like I said, I have no problem with this. Walking the runway, bikini thing, whatever. I don't care. You do your thing. I didn't really feel like this.
Watch this moment very carefully. He's showing you Angel on the Victoria's Secret runway, and his take on it, it's perfect. He says, I have no problem with this, and he absolutely shouldn't. Angel Reese earned that opportunity. She's got the platform, the personality, the marketability. But here's the really uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. The exact same people defending Angel's right to walk fashion shows are the same ones who absolutely crucified Caitlin Clark for doing a Saturday Night Live appearance during the season. I mean, the double standard isn't subtle at all. It's blatant. And Sophie Cunningham just highlighted that whole thing with one simple joke. When Caitlin does media, she's distracted. When Angel does it, she's building her brand. But when Sophie references it, she's racist. You see the pattern, right? The rules just completely change depending on who's doing what, and everyone's pretending not to notice. That's the real controversy here. Not just Sophie's comment, but the fact that she exposed how incredibly inconsistent these standards are. Now let's talk about A'ja Wilson, because what she said about the officiating is somehow even more delusional than Sophie's situation is controversial. Remember that clip we started with? The only special whistle I know. That's A'ja Wilson denying something that is statistically undeniable, and she's doing it while taking a shot at Aaliyah Boston, who got absolutely robbed by officiating in their playoff series.
Special whistle. You know you shot 19 free throws in the final game. You shot more free throws by yourself than the entire Phoenix Mercury team. Nobody's making this stuff up, A'ja. Come on, man. Like, y'all act like it's gonna kill y'all to keep it real. It's not gonna kill you to keep it real. Everybody know you get all types of calls that
Seriously, nobody else in this league gets this kind of treatment. A'ja Wilson shot 19 free throws by herself in the championship game. Let that sink in for a second. The entire Phoenix Mercury team shot fewer free throws than just one player on the opposing team. That's wild, and A'ja's response to people pointing this out. She just mocked them. She made jokes about special whistles, while pretending the criticism isn't rooted in actual, objective reality. This is classic superstar privilege, you know? It's that inability to acknowledge advantages, because admitting them would mean saying your dominance isn't purely about skill. LeBron James does this. Tom Brady did this. Every all-time great in every sport develops this blind spot where they genuinely can't see the preferential treatment they receive. But here's where A'ja's situation is different. The WNBA simply can't afford for their biggest star to be this tone-deaf about officiating right now, especially when the league is desperately trying to build credibility. You might be wondering why this matters so much. Here's why. Caitlin Clark just brought millions of new eyeballs to the WNBA. Those fans watched Caitlin get hammered game after game with no calls. They saw her get clotheslined, undercut, and physically targeted while the referees swallowed their whistles. Then they watched A'ja Wilson just breathe near a defender and get a foul call. The contrast isn't subtle at all. It's destroying the league's credibility with the exact audience they desperately need to keep.
Accolade-wise, she's done it. She's done it. She got MVPs. She got WNBA titles. A'ja Wilson is a great player, but she gets a great assist from the officials. You can't breathe next to her. Caitlin Clark can't get a foul. Nafisa Collier can get her leg run through by Alyssa Thomas, no foul. But if you breathe too hard next to A'ja Wilson, the referees are blowing a damn whistle. Like, stop it. We're not going to act like that does not exist. We're not going to act like that is not happening.
Listen to the frustration in his voice here. He's saying, you can't breathe next to her. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark can't get a foul to save her life. Nafisa Collier can get her leg run through, and still, no. But if you breathe even a little too hard next to A'ja Wilson, the referees are blowing that whistle. This isn't some hater talking, by the way. This is someone who acknowledges A'ja's greatness, but just refuses to pretend the officiating is fair. And that's the position more people really need to take. You can absolutely recognize someone as an all-time talent, while also pointing out they're getting a lot of help from the refs. A'ja Wilson is incredible, an MVP caliber player, a champion, one of the best to ever do it. And she gets superstar calls that nobody else in the league gets. Both of those things are true. The problem is, A'ja can't admit that second part, and her refusal to acknowledge it just makes everything worse. When you deny something super obvious, you lose credibility. When you mock people for pointing out something statistically verifiable, you just look delusional. And when you take shots at other players, like Aaliyah Boston, while enjoying advantages those players don't get, you look entitled. Here's what A'ja really doesn't understand. Aaliyah Boston gave her everything she could handle in that playoff series. Honestly, if Kelsey Mitchell doesn't get hurt, if the Indiana Fever aren't forced to play Shea Petty significant minutes because of injuries, the Las Vegas Aces might not have even made the finals. The Aces were vulnerable. The Fever totally exposed them. The only reason that series didn't go longer was injuries. And let's be honest, officiating that heavily favored the defending champion.
You won it in that round. You was about to go. If Kelsey don't get hurt, Caitlin aside, Sophie aside, all those other injuries aside, if Kelsey don't get hurt, your ass don't even make it to the finals. We had Shea Petty playing. What are you talking about? Like, don't get crazy, A'ja. Don't get crazy. The only special whistle I know, yeah, bush. I call bush. I call that. That's
honestly, if Kelsey doesn't get hurt, your ass don't even make it to the finals. That's the blunt truth. A'ja doesn't want to hear. The Aces were totally beatable. The Fever had them on the ropes, and then injuries just decimated Indiana's roster. Suddenly, the series wasn't competitive anymore. But instead of acknowledging how incredibly close that series was, instead of showing some respect to a young Fever team that pushed them harder than anyone expected, A'ja's over here making jokes about special whistles and taking shots at Aaliyah Boston. This really shows the psychology of someone who knows the criticism is valid, but just can't admit it without feeling like they're diminishing their own accomplishments. Look, A'ja's worked her entire life to be this good. She's absolutely earned her status as one of the league's best players. But she's also getting help from officials that other superstars aren't. And her refusal to acknowledge that just makes her look insecure. Confident greatness doesn't need to mock legitimate criticism. Confident greatness can say, yeah, I get calls, but you know what? I'm also that good. A'ja can't do that, because somewhere deep down she knows those calls are excessive. Now let's connect these two stories, Sophie and A'ja, because they're actually revealing the same problem, just from different angles. Sophie made a joke that was probably calculated to get attention, and the response? Immediate accusations of racism and clout chasing. A'ja made a joke dismissing legitimate criticism, and the response was mostly supportive from the same people who were attacking Sophie. Do you see the inconsistency there? The same type of behavior gets completely different reactions depending on who's doing it and who they're talking about.
This is why Sophie Cunningham has everybody up in arms. Everybody's up in arms. They calling her a clout chaser. They're calling her racist. All types of stuff. All types of stuff. Sophie knows how to stir the pot. Shots fired at Angel.
Yeah, everyone's still up in arms, calling her a cloud chaser, all types of stuff. This is just the environment we're in right now. Every single comment gets dissected. Every joke gets analyzed for some hidden meaning. Every interaction between players suddenly becomes a potential controversy, and you know who benefits the most from this kind of environment? It's the people who actually know how to navigate it. Players like Sophie, who understand that controversy absolutely equals attention, and players like Aja, who understand that their superstar status gives them a shield from the same criticism that can totally destroy smaller names. But here's what should really concern everyone who actually cares about the WNBA's growth. This entire environment is toxic for the league's long-term health. New fans don't want to navigate a minefield where every opinion could be labeled racist. Casual viewers definitely don't want to watch a league where the officiating is so obviously biased towards certain players that it completely messes with competitive integrity. And the players themselves are getting totally trapped in this cycle where they can't even be honest with each other without it blowing up into a full-scale controversy. Look, Sophie's joke about Angel? Yeah, it probably was calculated. It probably was designed to get attention. And honestly, that's smart business in 20. Angel Reese has totally leveraged controversy and attention into mainstream opportunities that most WNBA players will never even sniff. Sophie's watching that playbook and running it herself. So, the people who are mad at Sophie aren't really mad that she made a joke. They're mad that she's using the same attention-seeking tactics that other players have successfully used, and she's just not supposed to be allowed to do that.
But some people do. I don't feel like it's a big deal. People are saying she always has to drop somebody's name that's popular. She's building her popularity up off other people and Caitlin Clark and all of this stuff. And I don't know. I just don't feel like the Victoria's Secret comment was I didn't feel like that was a big.
So people are saying Sophie always has to drop somebody's popular name, that she's just building her popularity off other people. And you know what? Yes, that's exactly what she's doing. And honestly, it's working. We're talking about Sophie Cunningham right now. Her podcast is getting attention. Her media brand is clearly growing. She did exactly what she intended to do. And the very people criticizing her for it are giving her exactly what she wanted. More attention, more engagement, more relevance. Sophie's not stupid. She's strategic. And the fact that people can't see that just makes the whole situation even more effective. Meanwhile, Aja Wilson is doing the complete opposite. She's using her established platform to punch down at younger players and dismiss legitimate criticism. That's not strategic at all. That's insecurity completely masked as confidence. When you're at the very top, you don't need to mock the people pointing out your advantages. When you're truly secure in your greatness, you can totally acknowledge the help you get and still know you're elite. Aja can't do that, and it's making her look smaller than her game actually is. The real story here isn't just Sophie's joke or Aja's mockery. The real story is what these moments reveal about where the WNBA is right now. Caught between explosive growth and internal dysfunction, between huge mainstream opportunity and totally toxic discourse, between players who really understand modern media and players who still think their on-court performance exempts them from criticism. The league is absolutely at a crossroads. And these two incidents are perfect examples of the tensions pulling it in different directions.
Walking the runway, bikini thing, whatever. I don't care. You do your thing. I didn't really feel like this was an issue. Some people was calling her all types of names for being in this. I didn't really feel like it was a huge deal, but this is what.
Watch how he processes this whole situation. He totally acknowledges that it's messy, and he recognizes that these players know exactly what they're doing. It's an understanding that this is all just part of the show now, you know? The WNBA used to be a league where the basketball was the main story. Now, honestly, the basketball almost feels secondary to all the drama, the discourse, and these controversies that are happening off the court. So, is that actually good for the league? Well, it depends on who you ask. It's definitely good for engagement. And it's absolutely good for players who are building their media brands. But is it good for competitive integrity? Is it good for fans who just want to watch great basketball without every single game becoming a referendum on officiating, or every little comment turning into a racial incident? That's the question nobody wants to answer honestly. Because the honest answer is, yeah, the drama is driving growth. But it's also driving away the people who care most about the pure sport itself, the casual fans. They love the hardcore fans, they're getting absolutely exhausted by it. And the players are caught right in the middle, trying to figure out how to navigate an environment where a 30-second joke can blow up into a week-long controversy, and 19 free throws in a championship game can just be dismissed as special whistle joke. Sophie Cunningham knows exactly what she did though. She saw an opportunity to insert herself into the biggest conversation, and she took it.